And five of diamonds. All right, so five of diamonds. Let's talk about, I guess, China. Was China the first country you moved to, right? If I'm not
Yep.
mistaken,
hmm
China's the first country you moved to. So when you went to China for the first time, I guess, how different was it compared to you moving to Japan, or you go into Korea, or you go
hmm
into, I think you went to Vietnam the not too
I've
long
I've
ago.
traveled most of Asia, yeah, just
Yeah.
traveling, but I didn't live in anywhere else but mainland China, Taiwan
Mhm,
for a little bit, and then
mhm.
Japan.
So how was it like going to China for the first time and being like, okay, I live here now. Like, I'm not a tourist. This isn't a holiday. I live here.
It was real. It was really real, and I say that because I wasn't in Shanghai or Beijing. I was
Hmm.
in a city called Harbin in the north.
I've heard
It's
of it. Yeah.
really, at that time, back in 2012, it was really run down and it had a lot of third world country vibes going
Hmm.
on.
Hmm.
And it was shocking coming from America where I don't have to worry about the power going out. I don't have
Yeah.
to worry about taking my plugs out of the socket because there might be a power surge and it's going to ruin everything. So it was real.
Damn. Damn.
it,
What?
it's very different from Japan because it's much rougher. You get
Mm.
you get the cushioned version of Asia over here in Japan. It's not a good representative of
No, I
of
agree.
Asia.
I agree. Even like
It,
Japan, like I was speaking to someone the other day and I said, I feel like Japan's the only country I've been to in Asia that doesn't have street foods.
oh, yeah. There's very little street food. If you go over to like Ueno, they have street food going on, especially
That's true.
near Shinobatsu Ike.
Yeah.
They have a little bit, but they don't have a big street food culture. Definitely not.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's a marker of the level of income the country has, but there definitely was a big difference between here and China. Like China is
Yeah.
rough,
Yeah.
much rougher. That's why it's so much harder for them to convince Westerners to go there and teach English.
Hmm.
Like everybody
Hmm.
wants to go to Japan, and people
Yeah.
want to make fun of the quality of people that come here to teach English in Japan. And what I say to that is, you ain't seen nothing.
Yeah.
Because to convince Western people to go over to China, that school's got to lower the bar a lot, and they do.
Damn, really?
Oh yeah.
I was considering going to China to teach English before Japan.
You can. It's a lot easier. They basically take anyone that's breathing.
Wow. Wow. And like
Yeah.
when you went to
Where
China,
mhm.
did you have any, I guess, previous thoughts? Because like living in the West, it's no secret that the West and China are not the best of friends, not the
Oh yeah.
closest of compadres. Was
Yep.
there any like any stereotypes or any thoughts that you had in your mind that kind of like scared you a little bit about moving to a country such as China?
Oh, of course. My family was completely against it. My dad to this day still says it was stupid that I went there. He's like, it worked out in the end. You didn't know it was going to work out this way, but it was still stupid. I wouldn't say there's anything that I thought before that changed after I went, like, oh, it
Mm,
really isn't the way I thought. No, it was pretty
mm,
much exactly the way I thought it was. And the only big shocker that I had was going to grad school in China. And at this
yeah.
point, I already knew fluent Chinese. I'm in there studying politics with the Chinese students.
Uh-huh.
I'm the only American in the class. And I remember saying during the discussion in class, yeah, but in America we have a democracy and China is against democracy. And
Hmm.
one of my classmates chimed in, what do you mean? Or no, it was a professor. What do you mean? China, we like democracy. We have a democracy. And I'm like,
Mm,
oh wow.
yeah. So you got that
So
idea from home and like
no, no, my idea was that okay, China does not have a democracy, but the people believe that that is a democracy. That's what
ah.
couldn't. Here, I thought, okay, they're very anti-democracy, anti. No, they
Hmm.
say we're anti-capitalism, but In reality,
Oh, I
yeah, they
get what
don't
you
have a
mean.
democracy, but they believe that what they have is a democracy. So it boggled my mind. I was like,
Hmm.
I almost stopped mid sentence, just like, oh, now what do I say?
Yeah, you're the only one in there that's like that knows like okay, like I don't know what you guys think this is, but okay.
What you guys think a democracy is, but damn, that just left me flabbergasted. Okay. So you learn about what they think their system is and what they
Hmm.
think your system is, how they've
Hmm.
been taught, how you've been taught, and it was fascinating. No,
Did you
I
have
didn't
like
really have a bad experience. I enjoyed it at the school.
okay, did you have like any not bad experiences, but like any experiences in China, like because you knew Chinese, you could hear everybody speaking, like you understood what people might be saying about you, you understood what was going on in the environment. Did you have any experiences where I guess somebody might have not thought you knew what was going on or what was being said, and you could just
Um,
understand and be like, okay, I know what's going on here.
So that is so funny because that's the number one thing people want to see on my channel is,
Yeah.
have you ever heard anyone talking shit behind your back in another language and then you told them off? Or people ask me that all the time. And that's the thing that I've been trying to capture on film again, that's
Mm-hmm.
elusive and almost impossible. And why is it so hard to catch on camera? Because it almost never happens. And yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard people talk about me, but I've
Mm.
never heard anyone shit talk me ever.
Mm.
And I don't think that's likely to happen. That's just a paranoid thought that we have. But hey,
Right.
you know what? I'm learning Vietnamese right now, so I'm going to start learning hardcore probably by January, and
Uh-huh.
then maybe I'll go into a Vietnamese nail shop in the US and see what happens. And in my mind, they ain't talking about me.
No, I
So
have that
we'll
feeling in
see.
I've had that feeling in Japan as well, especially when I first moved here. And like people will be looking at my direction, or I think they're looking at my direction, and I'm like, damn, everybody keeps looking at me. And then I remember the first time I noticed that the sign that tells you the next stop on the train was right behind my head. So it looks like
Yeah,
they're looking at me, but they're trying to see like what stop am I at? Is this
right.
my stop? And then after I like realized that, I was like, oh okay, like they're probably not talking about
Yeah,
me.
so it
They
might
don't
not be
always.
what you think, and you might think
Right.
people are talking about you. And we have an overinflated uh, concept of self-importance. Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody's talking about, they're not talking about you.
They're really
But
not.
we'll see. Hey, and if I catch it on camera when I go into the nail salon, well, just great. I mean, I just put that on the channel anyway. But
Hey,
I
you'll be
don't think it
smiling like,
will.
yay.
I don't think they will shit talk me
No, I
unless I
agree with
do
you.
something wrong.
I feel like that experience doesn't really happen. Like people don't care about you
No.
that much, honestly. And yeah, so like when you're learning another language, I know
Hmm.
you use Pimsa a lot. I actually found out Pimsa from you.
Oh, okay.
And I have used it, and it is really good. Just being able to go about your daily business and listen to it feels like a podcast that you interact with, and
Hmm.
you're able to kind of progress and see your progression. But when you're starting to learn a new language, how do you just jump in, or do you try to do some research about the language beforehand?
I mean, you got to know something about it because why are you
Mm,
studying it in the first place?
yeah.
I don't really do a lot of research like what's harder, what grammar is going to be easier for me. No, I don't think like that. I think I'm interested in this country, so
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to learn this country's language, and then I start with Pimsleur right away
Yeah.
because it'll just teach you the things you need to know for your self introduction. How do you say
Right.
hello? How do you say this and that? And being that this is now the fourth time around, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, now going to Vietnamese, I know
Mm-hmm.
what I need to learn first. I know the process
No. Oh
already.
my gosh, I swear to you, you're speaking like exactly the things that I say. Because I started learning Spanish pretty
Mm-hmm.
recently. It's been about 3 or 4 weeks now. And I put a post on Instagram, and I was like, guys, what I'm doing is, because Spanish is similar to English, the alphabet. I don't need to learn a new alphabet. I don't need to. I just need to learn words, grammar,
Mm-hmm.
vocab. And I was just like, I look at my text that I speak to friends with or whoever, and I just write like 100 or a couple words that I repeat all the time. Write all of
Mm-hmm.
those words, and I'm like, those are the words I'm gonna learn because
Yep.
I'm not gonna use. I don't know. I don't need to
90%.
lose. I might learn, or I might use doctor one day,
Uh-huh.
but
Uh-huh.
right now I don't need to know the word doctor. I don't use it.
Exactly. And do you want me to tell you a little secret?
Hmm.
Okay, so and I've talked about this in my video a couple of years ago. The people who do the I speak 10 language videos, they know this process. They don't need to know every single profession that's out there. They don't need to know how
Right.
to say lawyer, engineer. They just need to know how to say what they are, what they were. They don't
Right.
need to know every number to say all people's ages. They just
Yeah.
need to know how to say, I am 30 something years old. That's
Right.
all they
Right.
need. So they skip. You can make yourself sound very fluent by skipping out on the whole language and just learning what you know is going to come up in a first conversation. And then leading the conversation by, you know, okay, I've seen it before. The native speaker will say something that the polyglot did not understand. So they just
Yeah.
ask another question. Like
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
totally ignored what that person said and then said something like, uh, 你是学生吗? or just something random like are
Yeah.
you a
Yeah. Yeah.
student? It's like
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
just asked you something and you totally changed the conversation because you didn't know what he said
Right. Right.
and you just asked him another question. So this is the idea of faking fluency, and yeah, you can do that. You should learn the most important things, learn your basic conversation
Hmm.
first, but I don't just want to know how to say my favorite color or my country. I don't want to just know how
Yeah.
to say America. I
Yeah.
should know how to say all the countries,
Is true,
right?
and I feel like for a language like Chinese as well, um, the culture is different, especially like when you're learning a language from a different culture. It's like what you speak about is not what that culture would normally be speaking about. So you do have to learn some different like vocabulary. You do have to learn some different grammar because you're in a whole different like area now. This isn't the West where you're speaking about music and what
Right.
food do you like, and I don't know, for Japan it's like people don't really speak about music that much. They might speak
Uh,
about food, or they might speak about your profession, or they might speak about I don't know. I don't know what we speak about in Japanese or.
right. Well, certainly there's questions that in Japanese you would never ask that a Chinese person would probably ask you.
Hmm.
And if you're just kind of getting by on the surface level stuff, pretending to be fluent, they're going to ask you some questions that you don't know, that you wouldn't have
Right.
expected, that aren't on your cheat list. Like,
Yeah.
你结婚了吗? What? What? And then they'll flip it around. Oh, are you a student? That's not.
Hmm.
They asked you, are you married? And you just asked them back, are you a student? That has nothing to do with. But of course, as the audience, you're not going to notice those things. But I'm listening to this like, you gotta be freaking kidding me.
Yeah. 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 Do you know what's funny as well? Like I remember watching, I guess, polyglot channels before. I wouldn't say. I would say I don't know where to put my Japanese level. I hate when people ask me because I'm such a humble person that I guess I would say maybe N3. It might be more than that, but I remember watching before I had a decent level of Japanese, and um, I'm only relying on the subtitles. Whatever the subtitle says, I'm like, okay, that's what they must be saying. And
Hmm.
then you get better at the language and you listen again, and you're like, dude, this conversation is trash. This is
Yeah.
like this is not what that person said, or this is not how the conversation went.
Hmm.
Which yeah, that's so it's interesting that you say that.
Well, but it's always easy to get away with that when people
Mm,
who actually know the language say, okay, a lot of people know Japanese, and they'll say, well, that person's Japanese is not good at all or not very
yeah,
good. Oh, but they also know Hungarian and Spanish, and
Mm-hmm,
they
mm-hmm.
also know Indonesian. And I can't judge their level on all those other languages, so they give them the
Right,
benefit of the doubt.
right,
They give them
right.
the benefit when they probably shouldn't.
Yeah, no, I
You could
agree.
probably just assume they're all bad, especially if they say, "Oh, this is my strongest language," and you know their strongest language. Okay, then all the rest, um, you know,
Oh, guys,
I
this is
don't.
how to get through it in 30 days. And it's like, 30 days? Sir?
Right.
How? All right. So that was, what did we just have? We just had five. All right. So again, with the bad shuffling and just when you're ready to stop
Okay, stop.
me.
That one was
Okay.
fast because I forgot last time.
So we have three of diamonds. Three of diamonds. So three of diamonds about beginnings. Yes, so where was you, like, I guess, born or, and raised in America? I don't know why I asked this question. I always ask Americans that question, and I have no idea about America, but um, yeah, where are you from in America?
I'm from the Detroit area in
Mm-hmm.
Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with it at all?
See, I know Detroit, Michigan. The only reason I know these places is because I used to watch a lot of wrestling back in the day, and I just remember where all the wrestlers are. But yeah, I've heard of Detroit. How would you describe Detroit though for people that don't know?
It's not what you think it is. That's how I would describe it. Because usually people have a poor image of Detroit in their minds. They think
Mm,
it's run down, dangerous, which perhaps, yeah, certain areas definitely are. But the Detroit metropolitan area, there are 5 million people living in my area, and they all
mm-hmm,
have little cities that have different names.